You gotta love unique and creative homebrew games, and today we're certainly going to be looking at one of those. This is 8-Bit Xmas 2024 from RetroUSB.com. I'll put it out there that this video is not sponsored by them in any way, just thought it was a cool homebrew and wanted to showcase it on the channel here. So let's take a look at the game itself before we delve into some discussion as well about what homebrews do in terms of game preservation. We have an entirely original game this year. Pretty cool. Other times I believe they've done modified versions of existing NES games. However, this year we have an original music rhythm game that can actually be played with the power pad. I tried to do it, but I don't think my power pad is working anymore, sadly. Thankfully though, the game can be played with a normal controller. I'm definitely a fan of music rhythm games, and I don't mind playing them with a standard controller. This title is a welcomed addition to my NES collection for sure. Actual Dance Dance Revolution did not start until a while after the NES was dead. So having a Christmas-themed DDR game for the NES is pretty unique, I'd say. There are only a few tracks, but that's okay. I definitely did not expect a Guitar Hero level of track selection for this one. It's the novelty of the item that does it for me anyway. The music credit for the 8-bit remixes is shown in-game as well, which is pretty cool. We also have a few different difficulty settings that the tracks can be played on, and as you can tell, I evidently need to practice a bit more on this one. I'm not great at it by any means, but I'm having fun. Overall, I just wanted to give a quick update on this fun little purchase that I recently made. It made me start thinking about how good homebrews are for the legacy and preservation of older game consoles. So how could I not talk about this? Homebrew games have to be one of the best ways to keep the legacy of a console going long after the big companies stop supporting it. There are so many dedicated fans that make new games for consoles that have been dead for decades. I've seen many YouTube videos about specific homebrew games, but I had never bought one myself. Channels like John Hancock, who have been in the retro gaming scene on YouTube forever, frequently talk about new homebrew games. I don't know the guy personally, but I mean, after you own as many games as he does, collecting must get a bit boring. Even more obscure consoles like the Atari Lynx have strong, dedicated homebrew communities, which is just really something that makes me smile. Things like homebrews can keep longtime collectors like John invested in the hobby, which is great. Of course, homebrews and ROM hacks start with emulation. All the time I get comments from folks telling me to check out improvement patches or other kinds of ROM hacks for several of the Mega Man games that I've covered on this channel. Those are also amazing labors of love, and someday I'll get to things like the fan-made Rockman 8 FC, which is an 8-bit demake of Mega Man 8. The next step, of course, are those who are fortunate enough to be able to produce an actual new cartridge for their homebrew. It's super important that we support those who make new cartridges in addition to trying out the latest and greatest ROM hacks to keep the spirit of the consoles alive. Making an entirely new cartridge is a big undertaking, and I greatly applaud those who do it. As a kid, I used to always want to buy homebrew games, but I never did because I was usually just looking to save up my money for official games still. Homebrews were a bit too much of a luxury for me since they can be a bit pricey, understandably. Oftentimes I was just too interested in some official game that I had never played before to be bothered with the homebrews. I was intrigued by them though, for sure. Sites like RetroUSB have been around for as long as I can remember. I used to visit this site a lot when I first got into retro gaming, even back when they still had their Nintendo World Championships Repro cartridge in stock. One thing I remembered seeing on RetroUSB was their 8-bit Xmas cartridges. These look so cool with all their flashy lights, and I would have loved to have gotten them. Without a top-loader NES though, it did not seem like the most practical purchase. I want to see the thing light up and go crazy as I'm playing it. Sadly, I never had a top-loader growing up. Regular games took a priority for me, and I never did buy a homebrew when I was younger. Then many years went by where I kind of forgot about sites like RetroUSB. Last year though, I got curious and I revisited the site. Lo and behold, they still had new 8-bit Xmas games. I didn't go for it in 2023, but then earlier this year I did finally get a top loader, and after I got it I told myself I will buy the 8-bit Xmas game this year. And so I did. I'm super happy to have been able to support these guys this year since 8-bit Xmas has evidently been a long-standing tradition for this website. Hopefully they release many more in the coming years, and I'll gladly make a tradition out of getting it each year. Happy holidays, and hopefully we will be seeing many more years of 8-bit Xmas to come. If you like what you saw here, be sure to check out my other videos. If you're still in the Christmas mood, I recently uploaded a review of Snow Brothers for the NES. You can find that video right here, and be sure to subscribe as well.